It's 2 days until you're 10.
I know, our old fogies. I'm having just one more bite of my cookie.
Did you think you were going to make it?
No.
Really?
I don't really think that far in the future, to be honest. Sorry, is this part of the podcast?
Well, it's recording. We are back. Episode 11.
Wow. Double digits. Too bad it's not 10 on 10.
Yeah. We could have planned that better, but here we are.
We're entering our 11th year.
There you go.
There
In
we
2
go.
days from now.
I have to admit something
Oh.
here before we begin this. And this admission is I uploaded the unedited podcast last week.
Oh my God. I remember getting the snap and I was like, and
And
it's so
she
old.
didn't respond to my snap.
The snap
so I
was
like,
so old.
I'm just going to just hand in my resignation.
Unedited,
Right now.
I'm sure full of F-bombs,
Like,
name
I think
drops.
the first 10 seconds, there's probably 4 or 5 F-bombs dropped.
And this is the one about regrets.
This one about regrets. People's
Savage.
names were not exited out. So, for the first however many people, I think when I checked the stats, when I finally realized, like, it was still early in
How many
our
people?
streams.
How many?
Oh, it was like less than 100 at that point. So that's...
I thought you were going to say less than 10.
Well, no, it was. I caught it early. We get streams.
Do you know what I said in the beginning? You know what I said in the beginning?
Oh, well, there goes the mic. It just fell. So that's, So yeah, anybody that listened to the first episode,
got
or
some
it's the
juicy
first
deets.
unedited version,
Juicy deets.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
For everybody that listened to the edited episode, thank you very much.
Yes.
Hopefully this one goes through fully edited. But
yeah.
let's get into it. You may have heard some giggles coming from another microphone. We are joined today by TMB owner and CFO Donna Hurst. Welcome to Unveiled, Donna. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Unveiled, I should say.
Yeah. Thank you for taking some time from your busy project management schedule.
It has been crazy.
Yeah, Donna has been spearheading absolutely everything in regards to making TMB Après Oui become a real thing, opposed to Jess and I's mood boards of TMB Après Oui. She takes them with her amazing team and turns it into real life, and we are super, super grateful for that. Why is Donna here today? Because we're talking about TMB turning 10. As of Wednesday, which is when this drops, TMB will be 10 years old.
Wow.
Which is absolutely wild. Kudos to you guys.
We did it.
We did it.
And what better way to begin than with the origin story?
Whose version would you like to?
Yeah, we're going to have a version Donna and a version Jess this entire podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So can you guys give a little synopsis of how TMB came to be? Like a quick little elevator pitch for the people, because we have global listeners. Some people don't even know what's happening here.
Do you want me to start?
You should start since you started.
Okay. So I wasn't intending to come into the bridal business, but the bridal business had me, I guess. It attracted me. So I GM'd a pub for a lot of years, and I was in the event business and restaurants, and that was kind of my background. And I met a friend in the restaurant industry, and she was like, I want to open a bridal store. And I was like, that's great, because I'm a wedding planner and we can just share clients and everything will be hunky-dory and sunshine and roses. And that's what starting a business is like, right? And so we looked for like a little commercial retail space for several weeks. And we went to a bridal store in Fergus that was shutting down. And we bought, I think, 16 samples from this girl. And I actually did find a picture of Dana coming with me. Dana and Tammy came with me, and she's like, is this what we're going to buy? There's a picture of it like this. Yeah. And I was like, yep. And so we opened up. Our partners at the time helped us lay flooring and put signage up and everything. And I remember when my mom came down prior to that, when I had just signed this crazy 3-year lease, I was like, look at what I did.
Yep, that's exactly what you said.
And she was like, okay. And I was like, can you help me like space plan it? Can you help me design it? And so her hands have been on it since the beginning. And then unfortunately my business partner at the time had to pull out after we were only like 6 weeks or so, maybe a couple months in.
A couple of months, yeah.
And but we had such a great response from Guelph already that I was like, well, we've dumped a lot of our savings into this, so I'm not ready to stop. And I never did wedding plan out of it. I did wedding planning for several years, but the boutique brick and mortar, like, it's hard to keep things up. I remember counting the dresses we sold till we made rent. So that was kind of wild. And again, my mom had a hand in it this whole time. And after a while of me working 75 to 100-hour weeks at the boutique and the bar, I was like, hey, do you think you want to do this with me?
And what did I say?
You said, I'll come down and help a bit, but this isn't really my shtick.
Last words, Donna.
And then she helped for quite some time. And then finally I asked, and I was like, hey, do you want to do this full time with me? And enter the person who's probably got us the furthest in this business, because of all her business background, is you, Mom.
Turned it into a business, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say. Instead of a facade, I'd say. A charade.
There was some discussion about, so where's your business plan and what are your goals and all of those sorts of things, because my background is business and interior design, and I had taken a year off, a very stressful job that I had.
Corporate.
I was
our best employees come from corporate, really.
Yeah.
Right, Adele?
Yeah, that's right.
Corporate or the bar.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Which way is your soul damaged?
Yeah.
I was chief operating officer, and I just decided that it was way too stressful after about 10 years. So I was excited to come and help. I was very leery.
You commuted all the way from Markham for a while.
Did. I think I did 2 shifts. I'd stay overnight 1 or 2 nights, and then I'd drive back to Markham. We did that for about 6 weeks or so before we decided that perhaps this might be a thing that we could do together. Yeah, it was certainly not in my wheelhouse, this bridal business, but I think we decided that over that 6-week period, Jess's creativity and vision for things has always been amazing and completely outstanding as far as being able to create these ideas.
You're making me blush over here.
And I'm very practical and very analytical. And so I felt like I just needed to interject some of the business finance side and get on track and see what I could do to help grow the business.
And did she ever help us grow?
I honestly had no idea that we would get to this point.
No,
this was not my...
Do you mean that, like, you didn't think you'd get to the 10-year mark, or the success?
No, I just didn't think it would be even close to being this successful.
Yeah.
Like,
I think we just learned so much on the go too. Like, it's hard to project into the future when you don't really know the industry. Like, now we talk about the industry and everything we've learned.
Yeah.
Because you just like... you do it on the fly. And I think that what I've discovered too is that a lot of the people who we meet, who I really look up to, also kind of like bridal has to be a little bit on the fly because it's so fluid.
Yeah.
But there is so much that I think makes us successful that has to do with my mom's rigidity.
For sure. And I think that that's kind of to that point that what you learned growing this business in 10 years is very different than what we're going to learn in the next 10 years. Like, because that bridal world is so different. And I mean, obviously the way the world operates is completely different. How people shop is completely different now.
Oh, and we like have the conversation all the time that the brides that visit us now, like, just they wouldn't be friends with the brides who visited us in the very, very beginning. The bridal world was different. The style was
like
different.
Generational now.
Yeah.
Well, it is really.
Yeah,
10 years is a decade,
so
right?
sad.
It's very cool.
So old.
You were 25. Oops. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah,
Well, you did now.
I did
now.
now.
So what would you say in the past 10 years has been the biggest moment for you for TMB?
Good question, Adele.
Well, I would say for me, if we're talking about sort of this growth and everything that we've done, when we decided to make a big move and open up Petrie space after 4 years being in business, that was huge. So
and
moving
now from 1 room to 3 rooms.
Yeah. And
like
the amount of
the
work.
Inventory.
Yeah. The amount of work and thought that went into that and the amount of preparation. It was a lot longer sort of process because we knew right away we were already going to outgrow that space so quickly. And we had time to go through that. So that was after 4 years of business. And now here we are growing again at 10. Yeah. So I would say that those two things are probably like the biggest moments from a company standpoint of understanding and acknowledging, where we were. We went from 700 square feet to 3,600 square feet. And now, can I say we're going to be 8,000 square feet?
8,000 square
8,000
feet.
square feet.
Wild. And like, I've never been in a business in like an entrepreneurial business where it grows like this, but to have that growth within 4 years is kind of wild in its own.
And then it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And anyway,
and now it's even bigger.
And now
it's even bigger.
Are we done yet?
Yeah. No.
Can we be?
You're going on vacation. You're going to Costa Rica for 2 weeks. You're going to come back and be like, what's next?
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to take a little bit more recovery than that, I think.
Jess, do you have a big moment?
Yes, I do. Actually, I think it has to do with you, Adele.
Oh, dear.
Just loves the spotlight, this girl. I think, obviously, I was going to mirror my mom's. And I think that in growing and our loft and our inventory for the bigger space and like 3 rooms was a huge learning curve. And that was like also very cool and pivotal. But I think the day that my mom and I had a conversation about bringing you on to take us to the next level has kind of defined how we view ourselves and our media representation. So I think that was big when I was like, I really want to fight for, I did that like pitch that I always do for you, Mom, where I'm like, here's my idea and here's how I want to make it work, or here are the reasons why I think it's good. And so I think remembering talking about we need someone like, and Adele can tell you when she first came and we were the quote unquote media team, it was like, I was like showing her like when I was doing stories and I was doing this whole backwards way of like doing stuff and like just have no training. I'm just doing it by the seat of my pants. Like, and she's like, you really don't have to post that way. Like, but making that transition to understanding where our brides are finding us and really like pumping money into that was different than being like, oh, our brides will just find us, or oh, like, like I wanted to compete on the main stage of bridal and put Canadian bridal on the map. And I think that one of our biggest strengths as a team, my mom and I, is that we both don't come from bridal. So I think a lot of my strength comes in people management, which I've done, but also creativity and looking at the bridal industry from a different perspective in the same way, like this is a business, but I think a lot of people who run bridal are running bridal because they love bridal. So I think having those two different come-ups really puts perspective. And I think that was a huge decision we made. And then every decision we've made to bring on more media people has just come out in spades. All staff, really, all of our full-timers and all of our people, but mostly our managers really contribute something extra to our experience. But Adele was a very early hire. And it was a jump that I don't think we were preparing for, but kind of came naturally. And then it was like, I don't know how we would have done it without.
I think that when I came on, it all of a sudden became about building a brand and building a voice for TMB. And that obviously correlates with selling dresses, but it wasn't about...
Yeah, it wasn't direct sales to sales.
It wasn't like hustling the dresses, although we did that.
No.
And we still do. It was about creating a brand beyond walking into a store.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So.
And that, I think, also, to your point, when we have made decisions like that about who's on our team, like for example, like Alicia, when I talk about the fact that, these moves were the biggest moves in my focus for the business has always been client experience, right? And then if we have the right dresses and we provide the right experience, we're going to be successful. So having Alicia join our team when she did, and she's been with us ever since, like she's our longest term employee. And then when Adele came on and then we were focusing on the media aspect of it, it's like having the right team just makes all the difference, and Alicia's brought so much to our team with buying and with our client experience. And we just, so over the 10 years that I think the people aspect of where we're at and our biggest moments are all contributed by everyone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, and with building that brand and building this business, we built a culture, and we call it quote unquote a sisterhood and kind of all roll our eyes at it.
You
but
love to hate that word.
It's kind of just become like a sorority, maybe that's what it is. I
Maybe
don't
it's
know.
a cult.
A cult.
Oh.
All right. Well, that's what she says as she has her mouth stuffed with a smile cookie, just in case anybody
so
needs
hungry.
that picture painted for them. But yeah, smile cookies and all. We're a sisterhood, a sorority, a cult. Call us what you want. With that, like obviously all these like wonderful big moments we're talking about. But the big moments, I always have this like thought in my life that you can't have the good things without the bad things, because without the bad things, you don't know what good things are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all in perspective. So what in the past 10 years has been personally for you guys like the biggest challenge of growing this business?
Well, you know what? This is a complicated question, but I think it's extremely challenging to work with people you love, because it's not just my mother, but it's like, you know, I've pulled a lot of friends into this fold as well, that my mom did it the same way. She's like, I need to consider this quite heavily, because if things don't go well, then that really is is our friendship like worth it, kind of thing? Or do I believe that this is going to work out really well, whatever it may be? There's always, that's really, really tough. And I think straddling that friend and boss, or even friend and colleague, like you guys, almost everyone on the direction team knows each other from prior, or everyone does, and even in our staff. So I think that that's always a delicate relationship. But I think my mom and I, the positives outweigh the negatives, obviously, but it's so challenging to create the magic that her and I can make.
Yeah.
So I think that that's always the goal that the two of us try, because when we are at optimal levels, we're singing, because we complement each other in a way that is like a right and a left brain.
But because you guys are like oil and vinegar, and I don't know who's who, but like
definitely
it does,
vinegar.
like yeah,
Definitely
Jess is
vinegar
for sure. But like it works when it works, but like it's also you guys, like you just said, you operate on two separate sides of the brain, and that makes really beautiful things, but that also makes it very tricky sometimes.
I'm thinking and listening, and everything you're saying is 100% true. I guess I was definitely going to say the biggest challenge has been finding a balance in our relationship. And, you know, we've had our ups and downs, and we are in some cases extremely different, and in some cases so much the same.
Yeah.
That it's never always the same issue. Like sometimes, I don't know, it's been hard to balance that. But I realize that since it has been 10 years, which you have to forget that it's been 10 years. So you think about the number of, you know, challenges that we've had trying to make decisions about things when one of us is maybe really firm about something, and because we are equal partners in this, you know, nobody gets to overrule the other one. So I think what Adele said is really very true, is that when we're really on the same page and really in a good place with all aspects, we're unstoppable. Like I think that and the chemistry works really, really well. And I would say that the biggest challenge has been over the 10 years that there have been some ups and downs that we've thankfully been able to.
We've got a 10-year track record of good. Like it ended up being good because it is still going.
Yeah.
Having said all of that, would you say we've made it?
Hell yeah, we made it. I felt like we made it the market we went back after COVID. That very first one, because we were one of the only
3 years ago.
The only ones.
2 years ago.
Yeah, I think that being a 10-year-old store gives us like seniority cred, but doesn't really change how we were at 7 years, right? Like,
agreed. Yeah.
So I think that first October went back a little bit early. Post-COVID, we're like, let's just do it. And then April, it felt like really normal again. And I remember going back and because it was really important for me to see effing dresses in person again, and like putting those priorities together that we always have. Like my mom already said it, like experience and the humans and what we have in the loft brings like sales in, brings the right girls, and brings like girls to the moment that they have. And so I think we've always kind of kept priority for that, and coming back really, really hard right out of COVID was super, super challenging. But I think our ability to do that showed me that we have made it.
So Donna, do you have, well, first off, have we made it?
Yeah, I would say we've made it. I mean, because I'm the numbers
Yeah.
person, I'm just like, well, how did I know we made it? Well, when we had our first $1 million year, I think that's how we made it. Because this whole big, huge investment that we made to go to the Petrie building, we're like, we just need to make $1 million. We just need to sell $1 million.
And
we
that
just
was
need to.
5 years ago?
That was 5 years ago, and in the whole, because we were growing and we were adding more inventory and we were having to add more people, and it was like, how are we gonna, like, it made sense on paper, but it required a huge amount of faith to make that leap, and so now I guess I feel that, like, doing that, in my opinion, we hadn't made it yet. And then once we were in Petrie for the first full year and we reached that goal and we've since exceeded that goal, now I feel like that we've exceeded it consistently, that now we've made it.
Okay.
You know, like, that was a big moment, but I felt like it was just the beginning because of the way it just continued. And it had so much to do with you and branding and media. And I think that's an important part of, you know, reaching that level of success and then continuing it.
Before we get into our big outro question, I just want to touch on this. And I know Donna said that we have to plateau, and I told her over Christmas break when we're closed. But because we're not good at slowing down, as
Adele is like almost 7 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, what can I do?
She's
can I
like,
do here?
see you guys when I'm back and everything is busy again. Okay. I'll take that break.
And you can plateau. So we're going to have time to enjoy what we've created, to work at the kinks of TMB.
Is that a promise there, Adele?
Everything. That is a promise. I actually have to say it out loud as like a
Are you practicing?
Yeah. And live in the glory of everything that we've done, because we deserve to. But bridal is continually evolving. It does not stop. It's not keeping up with the Joneses, because it's setting your own bars, I believe, but it's constantly evolving. So what is next for TMB? Where is TMB in 10 years from now?
Well, I guess you guys would have to let me know where you guys are at in 10 years.
Yeah. Donna's like, I am going.
I was like, I'm outie here.
Retired.
I'll just view you guys on the camera and see how things are going every once in a while.
Yeah.
Not just on the security.
I do. I have that app now.
On the live stream.
I can see everything that's going on. So, yeah, I guess for me, it's harder to think about what the next 10 years is going to bring. I certainly would like to slow down a teensy bit. I still want to obviously always be involved in it. And I'm inspired by a lot of the things that you guys, you know, always come up with. And I know that will never change, because it's always something cooking in the background. I have no doubt that whatever the next plans are, we've talked about so many things in the last year about what we're going to do after that. You know, I think there will be a period of time where we're figuring out what that is. I see tremendous continued success no matter what we do. So in 10 years, I see this business as being, you know, incredibly successful. And also, like, you have to continue to change. Like, you have to continue to evolve. You can't just stay the same. If you do, then you will not be successful.
Yep.
And it isn't, you're right, it isn't about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about creating new things for our brides, and looking at all kinds of different aspects of, you know, where are our brides at in their lives right now, like the lifestyle aspect of it. And so I don't think there's anything sort of concrete that I feel like I'm capable of formulating at the moment.
Okay, I think that
but
all makes sense.
It's going to be a continued growth and evolution of TMB, because you guys will never be satisfied with just keeping it the way it is.
I think that's a very, you have, like, in a good way, a very politician answer.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's like
Donna for mayor. I'm telling you, that's what the next 10 years is going to be. Oh my, don't even get me started on that.
Slowly get into City Hall. Next 10 years. I agree that I think that there needs to be some time to revel in this, because I love all the strides we've taken at Après-Wi to help workflow, which I find very satisfying.
Yeah.
But I think that, how do I say things without giving anything away? I think that every big idea we've ever had has come from finding a need and recognizing that in our brides. But I think the next thing for TMB is to like hone our craft. Like we have we've been very, very aggressive with our loft and our designers and bringing people on. And, you know, this industry is extremely competitive. But I think like really leaning into who the modern bride is now and like everyone really settle into APO and do this business proud. And then have that moment of like when something does dawn on us that the next thing is coming, we're ready to just be like, let's just do it because we're ready, not because we've been like looking for something new. It's like being the best we can be internally will set us up for quick and exciting success when something comes along that is just like irresistible. And I have a few things in mind, obviously.
I was going to say, and that was like baby politician answer. Yeah. So I'm just going to say that there's always things in the hopper and it's never a dull moment.
And I think too, like you kind of touched on the fact that when we do decide to do something, it's based on a need. And we've always, our success, and I've said this so many times, our success comes from asking our brides what they want and then giving it to them.
Yep.
So, you know, when we make a big move, we're always having conversations with our brides. And I think Après Oui is going to be an incredible resource to be able to have our brides express to us what they think the next cool.
Last question. This has actually come through the DMs a few times. And it's kind of people that reach out wondering like, you know, like how'd you get started? Like, what would you do? Like, what's your advice? So I kind of spun the question. If you could travel time to Jess and Donna 10 years ago, what would you say to them? What
about like 9 years ago?
Yeah. 9, whatever.
1 year under the belt. How are you doing?
What would you say to them? Is there like a piece of advice? Is there a message? Like what would be?
I would tell myself to believe in big dreams.
Yeah.
Jess has always been the big dreamer. And honestly, did I think that this was going to go? I was absolutely not sure. Because I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Right. And there was nothing to go on other than the fact that she's, you know, when she puts her mind to something, and even if like she's just going to do it, you know, and if it turns out the first time it's not successful, then we're going to tweak it, and then she's going to tweak it some more. And anyway, so I think for me, obviously I believed enough to sell my house and move to Guelph.
Yeah.
and become part of
there.
it. But I think believing in really big dreams, and I feel like I now have this level of trust and security that the next huge idea that she comes up with, or the two of you or all of you come up with, to have that belief that, it's just a matter of, I'm usually the one who's going to figure out how we can make it happen from a logical business perspective. And I would say in the same breath that I would tell us to remember to stay supportive of each other as we grow and as we evolve, and understand that we both have the best interest of everybody, because now we have this big team. We're responsible for people's livelihoods and their careers, you know. So I think no matter what we do, if we can just take that piece of advice to continue to, you know, be respectful and keep everybody top of mind, and do that as you continue to grow.
I love that. Jess, what are you telling?
That was very heartfelt.
What are you telling 26-year-old Jess?
25. I think what I would say to us is that you need to work really hard in the beginning to give yourself skills to fight imposter syndrome. Both like in myself and in my mom. It's just like there's a constant inner competition with this industry being not only so competitive, but also so visual. And like you get to kind of watch people do their thing. And also like, I just feel like imposter syndrome is everywhere. And then I would say that, I don't know, I have a hard time because I don't regret anything because it got me to where I am. but I would say just like understanding that this is going to be harder than I thought. And like really buckling up and just being like, I resent a lot when people are like, oh, do you just like try on dresses all the time?
Oh,
and
my
you're
gosh.
like, no, I lay awake and think about my staff, or I do this, or it's just like, and it's not like just how hard it's going to be in so many different ways. And just being like, it's not just going to be the counting dresses until you make rent, or it's not just going to be like, oh my God, my first bride never sent me photos, so I have no content, or like, it's like you, every year and every stage of growth has a completely different problem to be solved, or insecurity to be met, or whatever, the entire time. Like, we're 10 years old, we're pretty well versed, and we're still like, wow, we really suck in this area, or this is really an inefficient way to be doing business. And like, you just come up with, there's always room to improve, which I think has kept me as stimulated as possible in this industry, and being an entrepreneur and being in a business that is never the same twice.
Yeah. And it's this like, you have this like need to like, there's all these things that you could be improving and stuff, but and you're working on, and you're laying in bed thinking of the dresses, thinking of your staff, but it's also this other flip side that you have to make it look absolutely effortless.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
right?
And you take
it's
those
beautiful
thoughts that
and
you
shiny.
have, and you do something about it.
Yeah.
Right. So you realize that there is something there that you need to do. So
Yep.
it's the taking action and executing, so that, you know, you can deal with the next one that's going to
Yeah.
keep you awake at night.
because there's always going to be something keeping us awake at night. Isn't
Yep.
that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? Should that be our sign off?
Yeah, that's
There's always something
keeping
that's
keeping
insomnia,
awake.
bridal insomnia lives
Yeah.
on.
All right. Well, that's 10 years.
Woo!
Congratulations,
we'll do it again
Mom.
in 10.
Congratulations, Jess.
Congratulations, you guys. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll
Thanks,
see
Adele.
you in a couple weeks. And maybe
Sayonara.
TMB Après We will be open then. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, I certainly hope so.
Bye.